have the little one, and then it'll be that one,
Right.
the cabinet.
Then this one. Then you. Then.
Then we do these
Then
two
as I
together.
put this over here, then we both bring these up. Then it goes from
Then I do this
that one. Then I do this one. All right. And then we go over there. Good afternoon. Welcome to Artist Review. Guess what, folks? Tomorrow here in New Orleans, I don't know where you are, but out in New Orleans, where everyone is that views this show, is our Thanksgiving for the year 2010. And for all those people up in the north who can't get places because of the snow, we're almost 80 degrees today. Can you believe that? We love our summer. It goes all the way to wintertime. Although a change is coming from what they tell us, but the later the better. Anyway, we've got a real treat for you all before you gorge yourself, on all the visual and aromatic delights on your table tomorrow, gastronomical delights. Today we've got some great visual delights for you because it's our monthly artist show. And we're real pleased that last month's artist, Lindsay Roussel, was nice enough to refer not only her friend, but a fellow painter to our show. And, of course, we were very excited. We love those referrals. And without further ado, we want to go ahead and welcome to the show Britney Perrilloux. Right?
Yes.
Ah, good. I was worried about that last name. We've been going through those pronunciations. Nothing's as bad as Bockelman, but any name can get messed up. So, Britney, besides painting, let's talk a little bit about yourself. I happen to hear to the grapevine that you are a native. Is that right?
I'm from the West Bank, from Perrilloux.
Close enough to being a
Yes.
native. Yeah.
I
okay.
went to high school in Lafitte at Fisher, which was a phenomenal art program.
Really?
It actually was, yes.
Well, see, I never heard of that. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's my naivete, but I really haven't heard that they had a great. I mean, all schools have some art programs, but most of them are minimal. You know. So, well, that's great. You got
Our
that.
instructor, Nancy Kaysen, was really good at getting grants for us. We did things from painting and drawing to throwing pottery to stained
Wow.
glass. So.
And is that how you first got interested in art, or did you go even before that?
Yeah, it was before that. As a small child, I was really good, and my parents really sort of embraced that and encouraged me to do more artwork. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because in the old days, too many parents didn't see that as a, just like acting and some of the other finer arts, that didn't see it as a viable career, you know. So fortunately today we've evolved to realize that it can be a very lucrative career. So hopefully all the parents out there continue to, and the teachers, of course, who really recognize the talent earlier than sometimes the parents do. Anyway, enough about that. We're glad to hear it. The important things, folks, before we take a look at Britney's work is she does have a website. So in addition to the 14 plus pieces we'll see today, you will be able to see hopefully some additional work. And today we're going to go through an evolutionary trend that Britney has found herself, which happens to a lot of artists, a lot of people in different arts. So we're going to start with some of her earlier emphasis and then see where she's come to. But I'm hoping that she has these and maybe some broader scopes for you. So let's go ahead. I think they're going to have, but I'm going to have her give you the name and the spelling of the website, and I think our kind director has put that on there as well. So how do they reach you? How do they see your work online?
It's www.britneypenouille.com. It's spelled BRITNEYPENOUILH.com.
BritneyPenouille.com, okay? I know it sounds a little different, but it's a lovely French name. We were discussing the origins of that before the show started. But anyway, just remember how it's spelled. All right. Now, let's go ahead, and what we're going to do now, as we always do, is start taking a look at the art. And we're going to put our first piece up on the easel. Let's see. Now, this is kind of self-introspection, and this is early on for Britney. Britney, tell us about this particular one.
This piece was a self-portrait in Llano, Texas, after the storm. We evacuated to Llano, Texas, to some family's house.
Folks, I asked where is Lano, because I was thinking she was saying Plano and the P was silent. But where is Lano, Texas again?
Lano, Texas is completely central of a state.
And how did you choose that place to go?
It was family. We had some family that lived there. And
okay, so then after the storm, you started looking into yourself in a mirror and saw this beautiful young lady. Is that right?
I guess I was sort of dealing with the storm, and it was something that resided with me, this place that I had come to with no other intention except for Hurricane Katrina. And so it was just, I guess, I don't know, it was an exploration of myself.
Now what do we, let's talk about the medium. What, for the folks, it's not pencil, what do we call this?
This is graphite. On paper. I would say maybe 18 by 24 inches, unframed.
And you got it framed in just a typical black frame. I see more into it than you do, and I guess people get mad when I say what I think about art. But this one to me looks very, got a Western kind of a gothic, kind of like a hanging tree kind of thing, and especially with that serious look on you. I don't know. I'm reading a lot more, I guess.
No, please. Yes, it is some sort of something inside of me that.
Well, I know there was a sadness because of the hurricane, but I mean, I see it more. I don't want to say sinister, but a little darker.
Yeah, I think that might be my personality coming through also, through the artwork.
She had to stop cracking a smile, folks. That's hard to believe. That's hard to believe. Okay, let's take a look at the one you have. Okay. Because this is a departure, and we're still moving, folks. We're not where we're yet, but this is a great one because it's got some color. Not that the black and white's not great. I have a name for this, but it's going to get me in trouble.
Please,
all right. Well, let's talk about it. Look at this great look, folks. You got this another young lady. Now, is this you again?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
I did some collage work with some magazine materials, and then just translated it into color pencil.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking this doesn't look like there's anything. You took a collage and then made a painting print out of it. Yes. These are all colored pencils?
Yes, this is all colored pencil.
Wow, folks. I don't know if you. I mean, not that I want to discredit pencils, but I'm saying this shows you how magnificent you can get colors, and it's really hard to believe it's a pencil drawing when you see it even up close. And is there a subject to it, or any kind of thing, a background on it?
No, I really, at this point of my art career, I was just making art out of anything that seemed interesting to me, anything that had a sort of form that I was attracted to, and I just collaged images that felt like it could create some sort of flow.
I like kind of a little bit of the Dali or the Picasso kind of look there, but in the subject matter, I guess it's not a family show, but anyway, I tentatively named casual sex, and some of our people in here know about that reason. But anyway, I just think it's a great reflection here. So. But this is not where we're winding up. This is early on. This was about when? How much after Katrina?
Oh, I would say maybe a year.
Okay.
Yes.
Why don't you take that one? And my turn. Now, we're starting the progress, folks. This is what all of a sudden she's going to tell us how.
Oh, it's upside down.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other way? Like that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Notice how I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Before we even talk about it, we'll go ahead and take a look at it. Tell us what's happening here. What got you to this point, and when did you decide, hey, everything clicked, this is where I want to go?
So I was in college still, and while I was there, I was always an art major, fine arts major, and I didn't know which direction I would sort of stay in as far as being known for a subject matter. And I started studying geology at UNO and got into these scanning electron microscopic images. And this one in particular is Velcro. The loops and hooks is what's being displayed here, and which is how it physically attaches to one another.
So this is what we've done, folks, and I guess you're more familiar with this locally because of our recent situation, but what's happened with the wonderful advance of medicine and science and the magnification of the microscope has gotten so finite that you're seeing down to the molecular structure of things. And I think a good example of that was during our recent unfortunate plight last summer of the oil spill, where people started to see more and more of this kind of situation. So what Britney's done here, she's taken, what was it, a piece of just a cloth or vinyl you said?
Velcro.
Velcro. So was it just a linear strip or a square, or what did you put into the microscope?
So you can physically put something that's three-dimensional in this microscope, and it sends out electrons that makes a topographical map of the image on a very minute scale, magnified, thousands of times.
Thousands of times. Okay, so now she's taking that and she's making. Now this is again a drawing. What is this? What kind
this is actually pen and ink. Yes.
Pen and ink. So we're moving from the pencil to the pen and ink. This is magnificent. What's the size? This is a large piece. I mean, not the super large we're going to see later on, but what size would you say this is, Brittany, about?
Perhaps 24 by 32.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. It's unframed, but of course, it's up to you. But the important thing is, it really is the entrance piece into what you're going to see for perhaps the rest of the day. That's going to evolve even further. So why don't we take a look at another one in a different mode as we move.
So as I said, I was studying these geological things, and I got attracted to scanning electron microscopic subject matter, and it was really, I guess, it geared towards crystals and minerals, to say the least. And the next piece is actually
let's see if we get a close-up of this. It's a smaller piece.
It's
there we go.
It's a piece of volcanic ash from Mount St. Helens.
Wow.
And it's very, very minute, and it really does represent that, from the smallest scale of a structure, it reflects the outer scale, because if you had a piece of pumice or something, which is the same material, it looks exactly like this.
So now, how were you fortunate to get the piece of ash? Somewhere place that had it?
Well, some of the scientists on campus at the University of New Orleans had.
Okay, now this is not. This is done in what? What material?
This is graphite.
Graphite again.
Paper,
so we're going back to the original. It's very cool. It certainly looks like some type of prehistoric structure. What I like about it is just the whole nature of it is just really cool. And this is framed beautifully in just a basic black and white frame. Which size we got here? This would be great for an office or hallway, etc.
I would say 12 by 16, unframed. Yes.
12 by 16, very nice size. Now, folks, notice our kind director has put our local phone numbers on. Don't hesitate to call and ask Brittany or I, but specifically Brittany's, any question you might have about our art. She right now is not in a gallery. She works at another gallery, but she's not exhibiting at the present time. So you're going to have to depend on today's show and on the internet. And then next year we'll get her on when she actually does a show. But I've got one too that we want to do before we move on to some of the others. Let's see if she can get down one. And I like this because we're starting to get to maybe and I know I'm going to mess up with the terms, but like the tubular, hexagonals, octagonals. I don't know what those forms are.
Yes, these geometric shapes are definitely present. This one is a crystal matrix that has quartz present in it, which is giving you this hexagonal shape.
Right.
Of the 6 sides, and again, this is sort of the same subject matter of minerals and crystals, inspiring me to create artwork.
Any of these have titles? I didn't ask you that.
No, not particularly.
No
the other
problem.
one,
no problem.
No.
What I like about the geometrical shape is I'm a big fan of Art Deco, and that was so much, even though it was stylized, again, it was all based on those geometrical shapes and designs. And so here we have it in nature.
Yes.
That you're replicating without even necessarily taking it to a next level. So that's what's really cool about all of these, is that you're adding that geometric shape, or you're displaying that geometric shape that's already a part of the existing structure. This is getting to be very wide, popular in regards to not just art, but in everything we were talking about before. That I've seen some textiles that have actually been doing in some of these things, where they're taking different subjects, using the same subject and bringing it down to the tactile level, so that you can use it as making it a little more functional as opposed to just aesthetic. All right. Well, again, we're talking about Brittany Perrilloux, and let's see what else we got. I think you've got one. Well, is it my turn to go?
Yes.
All right. Well, we're really going to make a big jump, folks. And this is really going into three-dimensional. Boy, this is a heavy piece. The old man would get this heavy. All right. Talk about color and depth. And also that same wonder of geometric design. Let's talk about this piece because it's really very intriguing.
So this one does skip a few leaps from where I've
jumping
progressed.
Big time,
yes. And this piece is focusing on the basic geometric structure of these crystalline things that we previously saw in its rawest form. And so I took a basic structure and I created a line drawing with cabinet poles here, which gives it this three-dimensional feel to it, and also creates a cast shadow on the surface. And then the background is more of a decorative.
Okay, so let me go over this, see if I understand it. And again, I don't know what design, the pyramidal type shape here was actually as part of something that was scanned in the microscope. Is that right? That you've extracted from?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was.
So you extracted that image and you put it on. What are we painting on here? This is wood.
Wood.
Yes. Okay. And what kind of meat? That's oil. Not oil. What is it? Acrylic.
Acrylic.
Okay. Excuse me. So you've done the acrylic design of the actual pyramidal, whatever that shape is, from some scanned thing. Then to give it the depth, you've taken a commonplace thing like a cabinet pole. Is that right? That's how much you can see beauty in not only nature but also in manufactured items. Because I really didn't know that. I thought these were tubes that you had specially cut or designed for it to emulate the actual depth and dimensions of the pyramid and to bring it out a whole thing. And then you took the back, which had nothing on it, and created a linear effect again with acrylics. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Just really, really top gun. I mean, look on the screen. You can see how by putting that three-dimensional effect of that silver really magnifies the color of the pyramid. I mean, I don't know if it would be as dramatic on just without any kind of depth like that. I think it really, the divisional lines and the depth of it really emphasizes the colors of the pyramidal shape. Now, once again, is this any name or no name?
This one doesn't have a particular name either.
And what kind of size are we talking about on this?
24 by 24.
Okay, this is a lovely piece. Now, folks, if you like contemporary art of any type, you got to be drawing. This would be a magnificent corporate piece, or even for your home. I just think and the colors are so nice because they're just not the ordinary stuff. It's got beautiful blends of orange and peaches, and then the different blues, turquoise, little darker shades, and just really working well together. So the only problem with this piece is its weight. So
and it actually does sustain the weight of what sheetrock withholds.
Okay, that's the key, folks. So remember, because on the back it's loaded with metalware. So if you are considering something like this, make sure you get the proper type of installation, because I just think a normal little hook is not going to work on you. All right, now let's see what else do we have. I think you've got one.
These two are presented
this
together.
Is not a, what do you call that? A
diptych.
A diptych. That sounds like a terrible word. But whenever artists do things in multiple series, there's a triptych would be when it's 3. A diptych is 2. What it does there is it's showing that these pieces, even though they're done individually, work together as a whole. That doesn't mean it can't be bought or shown independently. Each one stands on its own, but together it is usually shown. Now, do you have a name or anything for this?
This one here is Life on Other Planets, and the one you have is Confronting Science's Logical Limits.
All right, now let's start. Let's go. Confronting. It says Science's
Logical Limits.
Wow. That's a mouthful. Okay, let's see if we can get it. Now, I
did, this is another progression. Some people sort of didn't react to the crystalline structures as I had expected, so I got a bit more literal by using scientific papers to collage onto the surface, and different other materials that represented science, as well as keeping within the basic geometric structure and using appropriate materials such as copper, which is what the figures are sort of made from.
So you lost me in this one. Okay, no, I mean, I think you did a great job, but I just got lost. So are there multiple applications of things here this is on a piece of wood?
So this is mixed media, and
so it is a mixed media.
I am collaging magazine articles from Scientific America.
Okay.
And I've used polyurethane on the surface.
All right.
As well as transparencies
And now, is it acrylic?
And copper foil as well.
And what's the first layer? Is that acrylic?
That's polyurethane.
Huh?
Polyurethane.
Polyurethane, okay. And it's kind of dark, but what's good, it emphasizes those dramatic horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, and then you say you actually put copper, but the copper is the actual...
The crystalline structures.
The crystal, okay. So it's not really pieces of copper that we would see. It's the...
It's copper foil.
Foil,
yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it does have some reflective properties, so it does illuminate under light.
Now, I have to admit that when I first saw this, before you explained it, I thought, and this is my bad interpretation, this was a magnificent forest. I saw a forest with kind of a blending of nature and urban life.
Nice.
It's like looking through a gate or looking through some wonderful contemporary vision into the forest. And so now let's talk about, and what size we say this is? 24 by 24.
Yes.
She's got a ring. Wow. So this is great. This is a square, folks. Even I know that. The old fogey knows it's square when he sees one. Okay, but now we have the second piece, which works as its companion piece. And once more, let's go over the title of it.
Which one?
Yours.
This one is Life on Other Planets.
Life on Other Planets. All right, now tell us, it's the same basic...
yes, the process is the exact same as I described for the one that you are holding as well. And yes, so they work together, or they work independently as well, but they are very similar, so I think they complement each other.
Exactly. Well, I see, the difference, like I said, once again, with my limited vision. There I see a dark void behind it, so I can certainly see where that would be the outer space situation. I'm not sure how I relate the front part to it, but at the same time, of the two, the trees are all gone that I saw in the one I'm holding. But really unusual colorings. Can you describe what colors would you say are in here besides the blacks?
So when I am collaging the paper, I've applied some different mediums that encourages the surface to rust or patina. And whenever I applied the polyurethane on top of it, it lost the tactile feeling of what rust would normally feel like. So it just almost solidified that color. And that's why it's this eerie, dark, indescribable color that
yeah, because it definitely is a color that's very hard to describe, but it's so unique, and it's got the light and the dark quality, so there's a great contrast in it. But I can see where definitely it's a metallurgic kind of concept, in some of the interest. Okay, and that one, of course, is the same size, 24 by 24.
Yes.
So when these look great side by side, or above each other, top, or independently on different walls. Really cool. Folks, we're talking to Britney Perrilloux. She's a local from the West Bank. You won't believe they teach wonderful art like that over there. And
I have the next piece here.
And we're going to go take a look. And we started off with some interesting portraits of herself and other folks using graphite and pencil. And then she hit upon the idea of looking down these fantastic microscopes where you get down to the core elements and seeing the beauty in nature, and then taking that either in itself and replicating it or enhancing it in many ways. Now here's another one. This is great for so many people. Probably today's world, everything has to be, all the houses have to be the neutral palettes and stuff like that. So they might object to the darkness that I was just referring, which I like. But this would certainly do well in a typical contemporary home where the walls are either all white or the very basic beige or just some tint of the greens, and beautiful, beautiful colorings, but again with the wonderful geometric thing. And now even much more visual. To me, I see a copper, I don't know if it's just copper paint or whether it's actually leafing, but talk about this one in detail, please. It's really great.
This one is also 24 by 24 inches on wood, mixed media, which includes some road maps, plaster for walls, different scientific papers, and copper foil again. And I think the display of the structure, the crystalline structure on top of the maps, has more of a narrative to it, almost like a satellite, hovering over the Earth or something.
Exactly. It does have that, especially with the extensions at the 4 points. So it does, and of course your background could be, I know they call it faux treatments or whatever, to a painting, but really could represent a contemporary ceiling of the sky, and it's going through it. And like I said, the copper really brings, just like the chrome pulls did on that in a piece a little earlier. The copper here really delineates this structure and gives it the depth that I think really just brings the piece out tremendously. Now I noticed here there's some striations, and I'm trying to ask, is that something you did, or what is it? Do you see what I'm talking about here?
Are you talking about the text here, how it does this? So
these here, not this part, not the whitish part, but see these linear things, all these linear lines? Do you see that? No?
Are you talking about the surface texture, perhaps?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, that's just sort of an effect that I've created with the surface before I layered the paper.
Because it's so different from the others, and it really looks like, gives it more the effect of luminescence, like this would be glass, like a glass instead of getting away from the satellite, but the idea of like a glass ornament or construction, because it really gives it like it would be panes of glass in that. So. And
I did actually explore that further in some other pieces that we'll look at. Right. But the choice to have the text here in white is to sort of reflect what the crystalline structure would look like if it were clear and you can see the other corners.
Exactly. This is like looking to the inside of the depth, so it gives it the depth that you need. Otherwise, if you saw the copper again, you wouldn't see any kind of depth to the article. So that's right. Yes, it definitely is. I knew that. I just didn't see the striations here, which are really cool. Okay, so that's an excellent one, and certainly.
And this one was called.
I have a name.
Geometric fabric. Yes, they do.
Cool.
They do accumulate names from here.
Yeah, this one got one too. What a name now, boy. We got some names. Hopefully you know. All right, we got another one again done in these. This is the right way, right?
Yes.
Done in the magnificent shades of, I guess these are blues. Is this right?
Yes, that is correct.
Really fantastic. But this is like a winter wonderland, almost like ice crystals here, and hopefully we can see that along with the blown-up crystals, the same kind of dimension we saw in the other one. So tell us about this one. I know it's got a name, funny name.
Yes, this one is called accretionary wedge.
Wow. I don't know if you want to tell your friends that.
But it is sort of more about the accumulation that builds up between these 2 points that meet between each other. And it does seem like something that could be lyrical or poetic, but it is the same process as the other one. It is 24 by 24 with collage paper. This time it's aluminum foil. It's more of a reductive process because I am building up the surface, but here you can see where I've also subtracted surface.
Exactly.
And I've applied more scientific text along there to make it literal.
These tremendous, and in fact, folks, these are actually coming out. You probably can't see that, but it's almost like little pieces of paper inside. I don't want to dare run the risk of ripping them. But so this part here, these crystalline strings, really represents either the adhesion or the fusion or the repulsion of these two large objects. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Perfect. It's almost like a clash, or just the opposite, the attraction.
And what's being squeezed out.
Exactly. It's going out into the really cool. And again, you notice that all these designs are geometric when you get up close. Some of them are freeform, but a lot still maintain a square or typical shape to really put some balance to the whole program.
Yes.
So this is great. This is really great. Okay. And what was that name on this again?
Accretionary wedge.
Just tell the pretty one. 24 by 24. Okay, folks, we're talking to Britney Perrilloux, and we said she is a native from the West Bank. She's been, how long have you been painting? Did we answer that? Since birth?
I've done art since birth, practically. Yes.
All right. We'll let it go at that.
Creating, whether or not it's painting or drawing, I feel like there's some medium appropriate to whatever it is.
Doing a bang-up job. Okay, do we have anything more left in these, or are we going to move to the...
No, I think we'll get
Okay, so we've got about half done, folks, and we're now going to take our cameras, thanks to our cameraman, to go to the front of our studio, because we're really going to see some huge pieces. Now, again, We're still following the structure with regard to the microscope and what it details, but now you're going to see we're going to be evolving or bringing in more concrete subjects of life to that. So we kind of mix and match or fuse, again, another fusion together of more realistic things to these magnified things. And we want to jump into, and again, these are all large pieces, folks, and we're going to try and give you the dimensions on all. Once again, she's pretty significant in that her pieces, for the most part, are around the same size. So that's great for your measurement on any of these. We see a lot of these were 24 by 24. So, and then we'll see the big, large ones are
they're all 36 by 48.
36 by 40.
48.
Okay. 48.
Yes.
So 3 by 4. Yes. So you know the propensity today, folks, is to get large art regardless. I mean, the idea that is the new wallpaper of the 21st decade, or century, excuse me, to replace the idea of having put wallpaper or stencils or any other paint other than a flat background. So the one large piece, usually common day as a wall, whether it's an pack wall or whether it's all the walls like in my house. But it's really cool. And we want to go ahead and take a look at our first piece, Mr. Director, and then let's go ahead and talk. This one has really got depth without having additions to it to bring out the depth. And again, the crystalline structures are just phenomenal.
This is where I started painting from the actual microscopic images. There wasn't much of a creative process of trying to figure out what I'm going to do with these scanning electron microscopic images. I was really just embracing them at this point.
Replicating.
Yes, and putting them in color.
And again, this is in acrylic.
This is in acrylic, and it's also on panel, on wood.
Talk about vibrant. I'm sure you can see it even in what we're seeing in the studio. It's just amazing. With that, again, that deep void black, that cocoa black, and with these vibrant, almost day glow structures in front, really tremendous. Is there a name for this, first of all?
This one doesn't have a name.
Okay.
This is before I started naming.
And is it from any particular scope or scan that you recall what it was, the original structure source?
I actually do not know the minerals,
problem.
but it is a specific mineral that's being reproduced synthetically. Actually, it wasn't even naturally bearing, and it was under a scanning electron.
And did it contain both structures, or just the vibrant blue? Did it also contain the almost dice-like quality of the?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So absolutely fantastic. So this is one that would really bring depth and just excitement, really vibrancy to any wall in any place, because really got some contrasting colors. That, like I said, black couldn't be any blacker, so she's done a great job, and also making the colors so magnificent, glorified. Now we're going to take it back a little bit and go maybe the other direction, still in the same size, and I guess still on board, but we're going to be looking at a little bit more pastel shades and starting to mix well, let's just take a look and see what the next one is, and you can tell us.
I began working with narratives, almost more figurative. I took a trip to Japan, so of course I was inspired by that. This is a monk almost blessing this crystalline structure that is somehow separated with this dividing line of almost realities. This is where I started to develop a notion of parallel realities existing simultaneously. And so this reality that we have most of the window to is this Japanese reality where the pagodas in the background, there's a sort of a mysterious stairwell that goes up.
Floating staircase.
Yes, and this monk with his prayer beads, bent over and blessing this thing. So this one's titled The Encounter, and it's on wood, and it is with acrylic as well.
Now, do the skin over to the left near the legs? Let me see something. Is that orange is part of another painting, or is that part of your next to the left side?
Oh yeah, that was the last painting that we just saw.
So that's a separate painting. Good.
Yes.
Well, once again, we got the same vibrancy here in the black. Now, and this one is really inverted. I guess it's your 3 by 4, but done horizontally instead of vertically, huh? So really, this is one of the few. There's a couple of more like this that gives you the other depth. So in case your wall's not wide, you want some height to it, and it's so apropos by having the tall Asian, usually not tall, but certainly the Asian structure going and mimicking and blessing or whatever the crystalline structure. So really, you're really starting to see what she's talking about, where she's taking the underworld of the microscope and bringing it into the real world. So interesting twist. So you have any fascination with the Asian? Again, very stilted. I like part of that. To me is still that Art Deco kind of treatment, even in the figure, because they're very dramatic lines, angles, and stuff, which you see for the Art Deco artists. And so I'm really, really thrilled on this one. Really appreciate it. It's called The Encounter. All right, let's move on to another one, and as we make our way around the room, let's see what we've got coming up.
The next piece is called Protection from Imperfection.
Wait, let's slow that down. Protection from imperfection?
Imperfection. The crystals
that's
that
a mouthful.
are in the center are actually twinned crystals, which naturally occurs. And it's just one crystal growing inside of another. And, I saw a parallel, in reality to that, because we have sort of twinned people.
Right. So it'd be like the twin fetus or twin eggs.
Exactly.
In fraternal or identical twins. I don't know which ones I guess identical.
Yes.
So we're taking, and once again, would you happen to recall what the structure was, the original source?
This is another mineral. I don't recall the name.
Okay,
it's
no
something
problem.
sort of complex.
Well, we're keeping with that magnificent black background and the vibrancy of that magnificent orange and yellows. Now, these male structures, are these supposed to be scientists or medicine people?
These were other children, and my subject matter actually also came from Japan. These kids were kids that I'd photographed. They were on a field trip, and they were sort of just sitting around with cameras in their hands. But I thought it was so interesting that they had these masks on, because it was during this H1N1 scare, and it became appropriate subject matter for the title of the piece. And also I saw this innocence in children and the impurities, existing. So
again, once I see again is again like two worlds. In other words, the microscopic world looks like it's outside in the real world, but then looks like the children are inside looking out toward this. So it's really one is really looking down, but the other one is actually looking toward the structure. So it's great the way you framed the crystal structure with kind of a scalloped kind of keyhole, kind of Moorish technique, and looking out to the thing. So again, and did we say we had a name on this?
Protection from Imperfection.
Oh, yeah, the good one. Protection from Imperfection. Okay, excellent. Well, folks, we're talking to Britney Perrilloux. Let's give her your website again, www.BritneyPerrilloux. We'll spell it for you all. BRIT, 1T, PENOUILH.com.
Yes.
And on there, there's going to be some more description about yourself. And we have a lot of these, or we're going to have some other different ones as well on the paintings on the
yes, there's pictures of what you're seeing here, and there's a few other things that I've done as well.
Okay. Does your website allow people to contact you should they have any questions about anything?
Yes, there's all my contact information.
And like I say, unfortunately, she's not showing any place right now.
At the moment, yes. I had just finished the show at Guy Lyman Fine
We've got
Art.
bad timing. Happy for us because we're happy to make your holidays start with something like this. What a great idea for Christmas gifts, because to me, I used to always start off giving books, that I gave art. I've rotated through different things over the years, and I still think the idea of giving art is something, unless the people really can't use it or don't like it, I think is one of the best things to do, because it really even though people have their own particular likes, almost invariably people really appreciate art in its whole generic form, especially now there's so many versions of such. All right, let's go ahead, Mr. Director, and take a look at another piece. We have a few more and getting near the end of the day, but here we go. Now this one is kind of reminiscent of a couple of the other ones when we had that pyramidal shape, that 3D shape, but now we're mixing some circular shapes. Let's talk about this whole one. This is really cool. Colors again are great.
This one is called Diamond in the Rough, and it does deserve some explanation of why it's called that. The crystalline structure that we're seeing again is also the basic geometric structure of carbon, and carbon is what
makes those diamonds.
Exactly, under the proper
Superman,
heat and pressure. Exactly. And yes, and these are two children sort of in this cave-like setting, but the setting is actually another scanning electron microscope image that I've used to create an environment in. And you also see the product of these plastic blue chairs that the children are sitting in, and they kind of have some sort of reaction to what they're looking at. The young boy is almost afraid, or sort of hesitant.
Certainly standing aloof, or a distance, putting his distance between himself and the...
Yes, and the girl is sort of observing what she's looking at. So I did want to evoke some sort of emotion in this piece as well. And this is also where I started to use color pencil, and I underpainted some things to emphasize a hierarchy of importance.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Once again, now we're mixing our media with regard to the actual. So again, this is about a 36 by 48, right?
Yes, that's
and
correct.
It's done with acrylics.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're introducing pencil, just like we saw in some of our earlier work, and we're going to see even more again in some of the future ones. Mm-hmm. The pencil items, and maybe we can go bring that picture back up. You can maybe tell us, like, again, might be hard to discern. I know me, even on the other ones, I had to get very close. Like what areas? Maybe perhaps her dress or her blouse. Is that a pencil area?
Yes, the kids are wearing, they're actually in a bathing suit. And so I made the decision not to paint their clothes in, to de-emphasize their clothing, and just use color pencil. And then also color pencil is evident in the little molecular structure that the carbon is withheld in. And even if you pay attention to the brush strokes, there are some brush strokes that are very heavily painted and others that are very lightly suggested. So that's also to de-emphasize things that I felt were less important.
But what was when you say underpainting, what was that term? Is that what you're explaining now?
Yes, just not overpainting the surface, not covering the entire thing with so much paint, because the initial stage of the painting, the primer, is gray. Okay. So I'm actually letting the primer come through the painting.
Ah, okay. So it's cool. Now I see these. I hate to say it with my bad vision, but I see little. All these pyramidal structures look like little roofs of some of our homes, Victorian-style homes, and this is the like different light patterns coming into that. So I see a whole bunch of roofs, but at the same time, I can also see it as a cave-like structure. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of dimension going on, a lot of head depth, and again, very attractive. Everyone loves children in their paintings, so, and especially when that's not just a replication of a particular child. I think it's once again stylized. These individuals are in there for a purpose, and I think it really supplements the painting altogether. All right, let's see again, folks. Don't hesitate to give us a call. Our number's up there all during the show, and we'll be glad to answer any question about Britney's work. There's our numbers. We've got only a couple more. We've got a few more minutes, so we'd love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate. Hopefully some of you are home today, getting ready for your big Thanksgiving turkey and admiring this great work. And Britney would be happy to explain anything in detail about herself and or some more of these paintings or some other things on the website. But meanwhile, let's move on. We got a few left before we call it quits, and let's see what we've got coming up next. This one's really fun. So we're really going into the personalities and the personas now in this one. Yes,
so this one actually began as a portrait of Lady Gaga.
A contemporary rock and roll, I guess, artist of today, which we're all familiar with. So it started as Lady Gaga tribute.
And somehow, overworking the face painting, I think she sort of evolved into myself. I think she has more qualities that represent myself as her. and the dress that she's wearing is something that she actually wore.
Oh, really?
Yes, this
is not your creation.
No, I didn't dress her in this dress. She was wearing a dress very exactly like this. The crystals may have been slightly different colored, but I used this as a reference because it also paralleled this idea of crystalline things evolving into our physical lifestyle, not just us using metal for different constructions, whether it's jewelry or
so you and Lady Gaga had some communal interest.
Yes, I felt like
very cool.
I related to her deeply.
Now, once again, this is a horizontal. Again, is it the 36 by 48?
Yes, this is 36 by 48.
And what kind of media? I know this is the one that she really tested me with about seeing the pencil, because I had no idea there was any pencil in it. Let's talk about what is all the different things that we have on this particular painting.
This is acrylic on wood with color pencil included. The color pencil exists in these little crystalline structures on her dress attached to her head, and then this green eerie structure that's behind her, which represents quartz on some level. And the pieces coming out of her dress are very reminiscent of quartz as well. So the piece is titled Quartz.
Oh, so it's titled Quartz.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what a great color combination, the white and the lavender with the blonde hair beauty. I think really works. And then yet the magnificent blues for all the depth keeps drawing me, even though she is such a dynamic look in the front foreground. I keep getting drawn to her over her left shoulder, the right side of the photograph, that convergence of the darkness into these mountainscapes, for some reason it just keeps pulling me over there. So it's a good balance, because otherwise I would think be totally lopsided with her, almost dominating at least half, if not more than half of the painting. So really cool. So that's called Quartz. Yes. Okay, and Lady Gaga and Britney in the photograph, the painting. All right, let's see if we can take a look at another one. These are great folks, and you did say several of these are on your website.
Yes, that's
cool.
Right.
So you can study them at your own leisure. All right, here once again we're going back to maybe the pastel shapes to the neutral shapes, not pastel, but more the neutral shapes. On colors, neutral color palette, but then bringing in the different shapes and the different figures. So, do we have a name for this? Notice we have the return of the children, but maybe even earlier, some children that are maybe younger in age than the two that we saw earlier.
Yes, this is actually concurrent with the smaller pieces that we had seen earlier, where I started to use paper, collaging paper onto the surface to make the subject matter more literal, but it's about science and there's no question about it. This is some more scientific imagery that creates an environment for the figure to exist in. Scanning electron microscopic things that are the child is sort of using as her playground, and she's done in color pencil as well. Her clothes are color pencil. What she's standing on and her face and her hair is in acrylic, and the papers that are collaged are from Scientific America as well.
Okay, so let's go over this again. First of all, it's on, again, 36 by 48. It's on wood.
Yes.
And then you've taken Scientific America, the actual translation. Now, is that actually just physically translated on there, or you photocopied, or how did that get applied to the wood? What exactly is that?
I used a medium to just apply the physical paper onto
So it is
wood.
the physical instrument of that particular magazine or newspaper?
Yes. So this
okay.
is
See, I thought it was a replication of such.
No. Yeah, so I'm also sort of preserving the contents of the magazine.
Oh, the magazine, yeah.
So you process as well.
People out there get a subscription. That's great. All right, so we got that as the backdrop. Now let's dissect this a little more, because it's really, this one has, to me, a lot going on besides the background. So then we've introduced the child. Now, I thought that was multiple children, but now that you're bringing it out, it seems to be one child replicated, or maybe moving in different steps, like either starting from left to right, moving forward and doing something, and then standing again on the right part, or just at different poses. And as you mentioned, she's in the center part, she's stooping down to deal with her Martian rocks or crystals,
yes.
whatever we've got there,
yes.
out of space. Is that right?
That's correct.
And
yes.
then we also have two floating behind her, still that haven't, the meteorites haven't crashed. Now, let's talk again about what do we have on the. So the actual crystalline structures are, that is acrylic painting?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so blues and grays are acrylic. But now her attires, once again, are done in the paper?
In colored pencil.
Colored pencil.
Yes.
I wasn't paper. Colored pencil. So you did, just like we did with Lady Gaga, you did the entire little outfit in colored pencil.
Mm-hmm.
But then the face, hands, and the head, hair are all done again, once again, in acrylics.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. To sort of de-emphasize her clothing and more emphasize, her skin, her face, this person that exists.
So it's really cool because, you really don't want her cute little PJs or something to be the feature part of the painting.
Exactly.
You really want her action and her interaction with these galactic specialties or microscopic specialties to show up. Excellent, really an excellent piece. And did you say we had a name for this one?
This one is actually part of a diptych, so it's called Evolution of Man, Part 1.
Oh, Evolution of Woman, huh?
Of woman or man.
Woman? Okay. Now, would this be the, just so people can feel the diptych, would this be the first part of it or the second part
That
of it?
is the first part of
and
it, yes.
Just so you know, we don't have the second part, do we?
The second part is not here.
Okay, and what
but
happens there?
It does consist of the same figure, and she is engaging the viewer on the other panel, where here she is not. And the scientific papers are also evident, and so are the crystalline structures as well. The same way.
Well, once again, it's great dynamics, but the black and white of the fine print, even though it's still black and white, they almost assume a gray image, what I'm saying? So that blends in so well with the gray tones, and then putting the real black on the crystalline structures to serve as, I don't know whether it's the sun reflecting or just the other side of the material. So this has a lot going for it. It doesn't have, it's not your full blast color spectrum or something like that, but it's all shades that just seem to, other than the black, just to kind of evolve into each other. It's like different levels of the same paint or the color at different phases, as you move up the color channel to the intensity of it. So it really is a cool little piece. And this I think would be great for a child's room. I hate to say it, even though it also could serve as any adult piece, but I think it'd just be so unusual instead of putting your Disney theme on the walls of the crib. Especially for a little girl's room, I think this would just be ideal. All right, I think we've come to our last piece. Is that right?
Yep.
We still have time, so we want to really talk about this one before we sign off, folks. All right, last but not least, let's see, Mr. Director, what we have for Britney. Wow.
And I'll explain this, my whole vision of this even more. So as I'm going through this process of evolution of what I'm physically doing, I'm also considering these crystals and the microscope, and then us living in a separate reality. And I come to realize that because of scientific advances, we're able to appreciate things that exist on different scales than our own, due to the microscope or the telescope, where we can see outer realities and inner realities through the microscope. So I'm really embracing these parallel realities that are existing at the same time as we are, whether or not we can see them. They do exist. And so this piece here is called The Amateur Scientist. And
say it again?
The Amateur Scientist.
Amateur Scientist.
Yes.
Okay.
And she is also 36 by 48 on wood, mixed medium. More Scientific America subscription papers in the background with plaster built up on the surface. The crystalline structure you see here has 3 separate levels. This is done with more collaging of paper. Also, the different layers, I've layered vellum on top of it to make this sort of translucent, eerie feel to it, but it feels like it's another layer of it. And it's separated with graphite as well. And the figure that you'll see to the left of it, she is drawn in graphite over the plaster. So it creates much more texture on top of the drawing, or beneath the drawing rather, and it's very elaborate folds, and this subject matter was found in a Victorian, very old newspaper that I found from the 1800s as well.
Well, you hit it spot on. I was waiting to see what you would say, because that's exactly what I see here. This is a magnificent, to me, it would look like an early Victorian, almost commercial advertisement, or something almost like something you'd see on the walls in the Roman century. They actually done on that type background, because of the background you have sort of the things in the magnificent wall structures. I forgot, not hieroglyphics, but and to me the crystalline structure looked like either a spiraling, like a top, or an ornament. I mean, just the opposite. It doesn't look like anything contemporary. It looks really so perfect to her nature. It looks like something that she's admiring in her time as opposed to the future time. So I think you've just done wonderful, and especially so you actually redrew the female structure, right?
Oh yes, I
perfect.
redrew her.
It really looks like you're looking at the newspaper article, or the actual photograph, or what do you want to call it, done at that period. It's so realistic and so well done that it's just perfect of a Victorian lady.
And it may seem a bit eerie, but I did erase her eyes. I overdrew them and put heavy graphite and then erased it, because I also wanted to make a literal stand on our visual, I guess, limits of being able to see these other realities, and then her being juxtaposed with something that represents this.
Well, that is very strange. At first, when I saw it from a distance, I thought, no, I don't mean strange in a bad way. I mean strange in really kind of an illuminating way, because originally with my bad eyes, I thought at a distance that they were closed. And I said, well, I wonder if she's in the old ideas whenever you saw replicated someone who, with the eyes closed, they were deceased. But just the opposite. Now the eyes do not look like her eyes, but someone else's eyes looking through that body or that face at the structure. So it adds just a whole new level, not necessarily spooky, but certainly a whole new level that, that this body is just a mask for someone else, a suit for someone else to see and looking through it. So this, we couldn't have ended what I think with a better piece, even though some of your others are just magnificent, and I love personally. I just think where you've evolved to at this point is just, no telling where you're going with it, because I'm really excited. And folks, we want to go ahead and thank Britney Perrilloux for coming. We've got a couple of minutes. You see you've got her website. Please take that down in case, because it's not the easiest name to spell, but at the same time, we want you to get it. Hopefully do a Google search or something. If you have, get the name Britney and start with P-E-N, and maybe there won't be too many millions with P-E-N. But definitely want you to take a look at some of her work, some of the same work in detail at your leisure, and some others. We are so thankful to Lindsay Russell, who was on last month, who referred Britney, because she's a delight. And this is one of the few times, I have to admit, I was a little shaky, but I trusted Lindsay. Because I usually always inspect some of the artist's work. That's what lures me to the artist. I find a piece or pieces in a show, and I want to know who that is and try and bring them on. This was sight unseen, folks. So it really paid off. I was a little scared, even though I trust Lindsay. I was a little scared that I didn't know any idea what you've done, but I think you really are an extremely talented artist. So we really want to thank you for coming on. Now, folks, just a little programming note, because we're down to 1 minute. We probably will not do an artist review in December. The last Wednesday is our artist review is on the time between Christmas and New Year's, and our station is closed. So we will probably show a retro of one of our artist review during that time. There is a chance we would do it the Wednesday before, but again, that's right before Christmas Eve, so more than likely we will not do an artist review, a live artist review in December. But hoping in January. January is really the toughest month, because a lot of our artists sell a lot of their wares for Christmas presents, and in January just do not have enough in their portfolio to come to the station. But we're hoping it's different. In the beginning of December, we're sending out our calendar for the entire year to get our artists lined up, so we can certainly keep it going for you all, because we've received such great feedback. All right, folks, until then, thanks to Britney Perrilloux, and we'll see you at the art galleries. Have a good holiday. From my perspective, watching, excuse me? They want to get rid of us now as soon as possible. Yeah. Slow in, fast out. That's